So here we have today Jonny, and to start things off, what do we have behind us, Jonny?
So this is my scirocco. I've had it for a good few years now, and obviously, as you can see, it's quite far from standard left from what's left over with it. I've had it for, it's got to be pre-COVID, I think, so probably about 5 years. Use it weekends through the summer, road trips, stuff like that. Just a bit of a toy more than anything, to be honest with you. Yeah.
What have you done to the car over the years?
To be honest with you, it's been about 4 different cars since I've had it, because it's sort of gone through a stage of, when I first bought the car, I'd never modified a car before. Me and my friends obviously used to just mess about with minor things, like we'd do things like debadging them, paint the brake calipers, get black wheels for them, sort of standard 10 years ago, just getting into cars.
The boy racer kind of thing.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. Trying to sort of just avoid being as chavvy as possible, really.
Yeah.
And then with this one, I sort of bought this for the first time ever with the intention of modifying the car. So it kind of started out as I'm new to this, and it was very apparent because I was doing stupid shit. Like it had gold wheels on it at first. Just some second-hand rotor forms I bought off Facebook Marketplace and had them powder coated. I lowered it on lowering springs because I thought, in my head, I'd never done anything like that before, and I thought lowering springs was like a big modification at the time. Obviously, as everybody does with a car nowadays, went and got it remapped. And just usual stuff, some stickers, some pinstriping, sun strip.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly, yeah, normal stuff. And then it sort of progressed from that into, okay, now I've got this car, let's start going to meets and attending shows and things like that. And then obviously I realised the sort of standard that I'd done my car to wasn't really what most people would class as a modified car. So I started getting ideas from shows, meets, other people on Instagram, other things. And it sort of progressed from there into a bit more of a show car. I stripped the interior out the first week of lockdown, and fitted like a new boot floor, speakers, everything else. And then just sort of, that's when I sort of got into the side of, obviously not to the level that you do, but like taking pictures of the car and like putting it into Instagram and Facebook and things like that. I sort of did a couple more bits and pieces with it. I changed the brakes, got some good tyres for it, changed the suspension to coilovers, started doing track days, went to the Nürburgring with my wife, went back a few months later with my mate, really got into it through that route. And then from that point onwards, it's basically been more focused towards the performance side of the car, which is why more recently, in fact, just finishing last week, I bought an Audi A38P as a donor car, put the 3.2 litre V6 four-wheel drive Audi Quattro in it, and the manual gearbox from that car into it. So it's a completely different car now, which will be, that's it, so it'll be quite nice to have, in a way, have the same car, but also it'll be like experiencing a completely new car again. So it's gone through its sort of different stage. I think it's had about 6 sets of wheels, 4 different exhausts, 3 or 4 steering wheels. It's obviously been resprayed. Just kind of spiraled out of control, really.
So you've clearly gone from the simple stuff, debadging, little modifications, and now you've upped up the ante. Gone to an engine swap, changed everything pretty much.
There's not really, to be honest with you, if you're including the colour, there's not really actually anything left standard on the car other than the dashboard. And now because of the new engine, not half the dashboard doesn't work either, so it's it's one of those things. I think to some people I've probably ruined the car, but to me it's just getting to the point now where it's exactly what I want it to be.
I mean, it gives it a personality.
That's it, exactly. I mean, I've always wanted a car that sort of colour. I used to work at Ford back in 2016, pretty much as the new gen of the RS came out, and the new gen of the Mustang, and sort of grab a blue on the Mustang, and I can't remember the name of it, but the pale blue on the RSs. I sort of fell in love with that colour more than I actually did with the cars. And I always liked cars that way, and you'll know, you live locally to me, there was a really bad hailstorm a few years ago. Absolutely peppered all the cars, and it turned out the cheapest way to go about it was to actually get it resprayed because the body shop had their own dent removal guy. So I thought, what an opportunity to change it, basically. And then just from going from a point of thinking, I'll change the wheels and put some lowering springs on it. It's kind of ran away with itself, really. I think initially I thought, oh, I'll spend a few £100, and now I'm way over the cost of the car in modifying the car again. So it's one of those things. I've enjoyed it, and it's meant I've actually managed to hang on to a car for 5 years, where normally I'd swap them every 6 to 8 months. So it's obviously worked in one way.
Clearly a good car.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. It's the second Scirocco I've had, actually. I used to have the 1.4 when I was younger. Swapped into a few different cars, never really had a love for it. And then when I was 22, 23, can't remember off the top of my 23 actually, 2016, I had my first like proper big boy job. I thought, oh, I've got some money now, I'll go and buy a Merc, as everybody sort of does when they've moved to a city and started earning some decent money. And as soon as the new car feeling wore off, I thought, why have I bought this car? Ended up hemorrhaging money on it. I think I lost like 17k in the first year of it because it was a factory order.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's it. So when it came to finding this on Auto Trader and going and swapping it, I think I had to pay them to take the Merc off me and then pay them for this. So that was don't buy new cars would be my sort of my main bit of advice from that. But yeah, I mean, since then really I've never looked back. I fell in love with the car on the test drive, and then ever since. And then obviously last year with the misfire, which is the reason for the engine swap, I was completely heartbroken with it, because I was like, well, the car's a big part of my life. It's got me into the car scene. It's part of the reason that I do what I do. First time I've been away on a long road trip in a car, all sorts really. It's just a car I'm connected to. So it's nice to have, probably have it forever. Yeah.
Cool. So what made you choose the Scirocco?
To be honest with you, they came out 2008, so I was 15, I wasn't driving it at that point, and more or less straight away I sort of fell in love with the car. I've always been into cars, but obviously before I could drive, it's never really as big of a thing when you're that age, because it's just not a world that you sort of connected in with like you are when you obviously own the cars and do things like photography, cars and coffee meets, track days, etc. So I liked the car from a young age. Obviously 2 years later, passed my test. There's no way at 17 years old I was buying a 2-year-old Scirocco and insuring it. It was just never going to happen. So it kind of became a bit of a pipe dream. And then my 21st birthday came around. I had a bit of money saved up. Mum and Dad were sort of happy to spend a bit more on me because it was my 21st as well. So I sort of pulled everything together and bought the 1.4 litre Scirocco. As all the 1.4 litre twin charge Siroccos do, about a year and a half later the engine blew up. So that went in, luckily, best 230 quid I've ever spent in my life. Luckily it was covered under the extended warranty. So I ended up being lumped with a £6,300 invoice because warranty work, they'd only replaced new parts, it needed a whole engine from Volkswagen. On that invoice, the only thing that wasn't covered was the spark plug, so it ended up costing me £232. So with the warranty, I was less than 500 quid in for a brand new engine. And I thought, again, at the time, didn't really know cars, anything like that. I thought, oh, it's starting to have problems, I'll get rid of it. Traded it in for something else. Basically regretted it ever since. But yeah, somebody got a bargain because they got a brand new car with a car with a brand new engine for about £7,000. So they were quite lucky with that. But yeah.
Finally, about your car. Well, not about your car, but on the subject of cars. What is your favourite, and what would you like to own if the Scirocco wasn't a thing?
So it's going to make me sound really basic, and yes, I do have TikTok. A GT3 RS would obviously be like the ultimate sort of goal. I mean, as anyone who does track days, anyone who's into cars, that's sort of the definite goal. But I mean, the thing for me, I always like the idea of having a few achievable cars as opposed to one mental car. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like to think that I'm going to be successful over my years, but I'm not going to win the lottery. So having Porsches, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, etc. in a fleet isn't going to happen for me. So realistically, this is always going to be around. As it gets older, it'll probably do less and less time on things like track days and sort of become again back down maybe the show route.
So now talking about your business.
Yes.
What did you do to like become a detailer? All of this. What did you actually do to start it?
So to start the business, it was never like this when I got it up and running. It was sort of one of those things. I'd bounced around between, in my 20s I must have had 10 jobs probably. Wow. It was one of those things. I'd settle in somewhere, I'd think this is great, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, either I need to earn more money because I want to fund this hobby, or I need to have more time off because I want to do this with my girlfriend and my mates, or I need to have no more of this guy around me anymore, so I need to go somewhere else, sort of thing. So I bounced around a few places. Lastly, I worked in the prison service, and I did a lot of overtime there just because the overtime was easy work and it was decent money. And that's sort of around the time I bought this and started getting into the more show side of it. So the car was looking nice. I cleaned it all the time, and because of that, it got a lot of attention. Yeah. Neighbours, people in the work car park, everything like that. People started saying, "Oh, where'd you get your car cleaned? Do you pay for it to be done?" Everything else. I said, "No, I do it myself." More and more people asked me, like, "Oh, would you do mine?" And I was always, "No, I can't be bothered. I'm not spending my days off doing that sort of thing." Yeah. Eventually, I just thought, do you know what? I could do this part-time to replace the overtime. Yeah. I sort of had a chat with my dad about it because it was sort of a level head that I could talk to. His advice was, well, they're my parents, they probably didn't want me working in a prison, but his advice was leave the prison, start full-time. And I was like, well, it's not just magically going to earn me money from day one. Yeah. I need to ease into it, sort of thing. But he's always been I don't do things by halves kind of guy. Like anything he does, he puts everything into it, and he sort of obviously projected that onto me through that. And I thought, okay, fine.
It's a big risk starting a business.
It is, of course, yeah. I know, I'll get to this in a bit, but I know a lot of people start detailing up and then stop more or less immediately. Yeah. But I thought, do you know what, fine. I'd wanted to be self-employed for ages. Like I say, I bounced around different jobs. I always struggled to keep myself interested in a job, and if I'm not interested, my heart just goes out of it, and then all of a sudden I might as well not be there. And I thought, right, okay, well, maybe self-employed is the way to go, because I can, stupidly, I thought I can control my own hours, I can control how much I earn and everything else like that. Yeah. It's actually the total opposite. I now work more hours and probably pay myself less money than I ever did before. But I thought, what am I interested in? And it was cars, and obviously people had asked me about the detailing and the gym. So it was either I start a gym or I start doing something in the car industry, and I'm not a mechanic. Looked into both options. Started a gym, stupid money, didn't have it. Yeah. Whereas down the detailing route or modifications, etc., things like that route, it was a more realistic startup figure. So I thought, okay, let's do that. Went on a training course with AutoFinesse, which was like I don't know if they still do it, but it used to be like you could either go and do a day and detail your own car, or you could go and do a week, and they teach you how to do it properly. And you sit down with James, who owns AutoFinesse, and basically he talks you through what he did to set up. Obviously, I've got no intention of ever becoming as big as AutoFinesse did, but it was nice to have that insight of someone who's gone from cleaning cars to now being one of the biggest names, obviously, in the car cleaning industry. Yeah. So it was worth the course just for the chat with him, to be honest with you. And then, 3.5 years of mobile work. Yeah. I put a post up on the local Facebook forum thinking, I'm always dead through winter because I've got nowhere indoors to clean cars. Does anybody have a double garage that I could pay you a bit of money for? I'll paint the place, I'll put some nice flooring down, I'll put some nice lights up, and then let me use it like 9 to 5, Monday to Friday sort of thing. And the guy who owns this unit, his wife contacted me and was like, oh, my husband's got some space available. I thought, okay, I'll come and take a look, expecting it to be a double garage, and I walked in here, and obviously it's
full on unit,
over 1,000 square feet. Don't get me wrong, at the time it looked a bit shoddy. It was bare brick and concrete floor with holes in it, and there was equipment just sort of lying around scattered in the corners. And I thought, I could work with this. It'll cost me a bit. I might have to sell the van, everything else like that. Fortunately, I didn't have to sell the van, but yeah.
What made you think of the name OctaneHaüs? Like, how does that come around?
So it was originally JMG Automotive Detailing, just because I'm not creative and everybody just seems to go with initials detailing or initials valeting, and I thought, why not? It works. It's simple. Let's do it. And it's just one of those things. And I again went to the Nürburgring with a friend of mine, and we were watching some cars go past, and a Mini JCW drove past, and it had on the side OctaneHaüs, but as in the English spelling of house, but it was on a German car, and I thought, I wonder why it's the English spelling of house on a German car. And my mate said, well, it'd be a good business name to have it as the HAUS. And I thought, well, at the time I was in talks with a guy about starting to do tuning, and I'd signed up with a couple of companies like the Performance Co and things like that to start selling parts on their behalf. And I fit things like low-line kits and splitters and side skirts, side steps on Range Rovers, big brake kits, etc. I thought, well, if I'm sort of encompassing everything, I can't be called XXX detailing anymore. So I'll need to change that. And it just sort of, about 6 weeks later, the change happened, and I thought, well, yeah, okay, I'll change the name as well. And we thought it sounded cool, and it works. Yeah, that's it. A lot of people don't always say it right the first time. I don't actually think there's supposed to be the umlaut above the U on house, but I mean, it makes it look more German, in my opinion. So, but yeah.
I agree with that.
No, thank you.
How do people pronounce it then?
So you get horse, whores. One guy sounded like he was just having a stroke trying to say it down the phone one time. It made me laugh, actually. But yeah, I think people just don't associate it with house straight away. But I think just purely because, obviously, I want people's mind to go to cars, engineering, motor, and things like that. I went with a German name. Yeah. So yeah, it worked.
So, final question.
Yeah.
Where do you want to end up with this business as a whole? Do you want it expanded to a mass amount, or do you want to keep it local?
So, as opposed to expanded, it's more of like a more strings to the bow kind of plan. Basically just start offering more services. I've got a friend who's a very good mechanic. He helped me out with this, who will come and do certain things for me that obviously I'm not comfortable doing for customers. I'd like to hire someone to do potentially things like smart repair in the future. And like I said earlier, I'm thinking about, having a pickup as a daily driver has always been on the cards, and now that I do this, obviously it'd be handy because I could do things like mobile maintenance and stuff. So it'd be nice to have something going out and doing the mobile work for my regular customers. But also with that, I like the idea of, if I've got a pickup, start doing things like recovery, transport, and sort of expand into that. Like I've said a couple of times now, I like going to the Nürburgring. And I know regularly, because I've been in a situation myself, people need their cars recovering from there. So it'd be an excuse to go out there every weekend without my wife killing me, which would be nice. Maybe get into recovering cars from Germany. And then funnily enough, I was actually saying to somebody earlier, a customer who came in, who I know quite well, that the sort of, not soft retirement plan, but maybe in sort of 20, 25 years time, if I'm doing this recovery thing and it picks up really well for sort of track day, Nürburgring, etc. recovery, maybe 3 days a week out there, 4 days a week over here, and sort of go down that route. I'd love nothing more than to have that permanently live within a couple of miles of the Nürburgring and just go over on a Thursday night, come back on a Sunday night. That'd be amazing. Yeah, it'd be the dream. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. So hopefully, you never know, if it goes as well as I could ever possibly want it to, then keep this here, and have something smaller and sort of more on the transport side over in Germany, because you're not allowed to detail over there. So
really?
Yeah, it's something to do with like the chemical imbalance in the water and things like that, because it's such a green area. Like, ironically, obviously, with it being a racetrack and everything else like that, it's right in the middle of obviously a massive forest. Super clean area, really, really nice place, and I think they just sort of want to keep that as it is. So the only places you can really wash your car there are like petrol stations, because they have underwater water storage tanks, which come and get cleared out. So,
right.
yeah, so I couldn't, unfortunately, if I could detail over there, I'd be doing everything I could to get this business set up 2 miles from the Nürburgring, because it'd be perfect. But yeah, I think that would sort of be the ideal 10-year plan, would be to be partly out there, partly over here.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you.
No worries. Perfect.
Cool.